All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a tool that completely changed how the internet looks and feels. I mean, for early web developers, this thing was basically a magic wand.
And that was its promise, right? Write less, do more. An incredibly powerful motto for a JavaScript library called jQuery. But you gotta ask, what problem was so big that it needed a solution this powerful?
Okay, so try to picture this. You're a developer in the mid-2000s. You want to do something simple, like an animation on your website. Well, first you'd have to write the code, and then you'd have to write it again, but slightly differently, for Internet Explorer. And then again for Firefox, and again for Safari. It was a total nightmare.
So in 2006, this developer, John Resig, comes along and releases this free, open-source library to fix this whole mess. The mission? Super simple. Make JavaScript easier to use. And the impact was just immediate. It really did become that magic wand that every single web developer started reaching for.
Okay, so the first step in any magic trick, right? You gotta choose your target. You have to point your wand at the exact thing you want to affect. And jQuery, well, it made that part unbelievably simple and powerful.
And you know, the real power of jQuery kind of boils down to this one core idea. You can think of it like a two-part incantation, the basic spell that just unlocks everything else.
It's actually so logical when you see it. First, you have the selector. That's the bit inside the $ in parentheses. That's you pointing your wand, finding the exact thing on the page you want to change. Then, you have the action, which is you casting the spell. You tell it what to do. Hide, change color, move around, whatever you want.
And the cool thing was, you could be really broad, like, hey, select every single paragraph on the whole page. Or you could get super precise, and I mean surgically precise, grabbing one unique element by its ID, or maybe a whole group of things that share a class. It gave developers this incredible level of control.
So once developers mastered that power of selection, they could start doing all kinds of visual sorcery, and often with just a single line of code. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, jQuery basically came with this built-in spell book, a bunch of pre-written spells. You want to hide something? There's a spell for that. Want to show it again? Yep. Fade it in, all smooth and nice, animated across the screen. There was a simple one-word command for pretty much everything.
And that simplicity, that was the real game changer. I mean, look, if you wanted to make a paragraph just disappear, you just select it and tell it to .hide. That's literally it. A task that used to be super complicated was now just effortless.
And these simple commands just unlocked a whole new level of professionalism for websites. You could fade an element in, right, so it appears gracefully by changing its opacity. Or you could slide an element down, animating its height, and suddenly you have these really smooth, clean-looking drop-down menus. Stuff that just felt good to use.
All right, so to get into the really advanced magic, you needed to understand the hidden structure of a web page. The relationships between all the different pieces.
Now, this structure has a technical name. It's called the Document Object Model, or just the DOM. But honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a family tree, but for your website.
So just like a family tree, every element has relationships. It might have a parent element that it sits inside of, or maybe some child elements inside of it, or even sibling elements right next to it. And jQuery gave developers these super simple commands to just travel up, down, and across this family tree to find exactly what they were looking for.
Okay, so here's the crucial question. Why was all of this so revolutionary? Let's do a little before and after to really see the magic behind that whole write less, do more idea. Okay, so on the left, that's the kind of long, complicated code you might have had to write in what we call vanilla JavaScript, just to find and hide a specific group of elements. And on the right, yeah, that's the single line of jQuery that does the exact same thing. It's wild.
And this wasn't just about saving a few keystrokes, This was a complete paradigm shift. It made building websites faster, way more intuitive, the code was easier to read, and ultimately it just made developers more powerful.
And you have to remember, this game-changing tool, it wasn't made yesterday. This came out all the way back in 2006. I mean, in the tech world, that's practically a different geological era.
Its power and its simplicity were just undeniable. So undeniable that it was adopted by all the biggest names in tech. Google, Microsoft, IBM, you name it. For more than a decade, jQuery was a fundamental building block of the web as we know it, running on literally millions and millions of websites.
So what's the big takeaway here? I think it's this. jQuery democratized web development. It took this really complex, often super frustrating task of making websites interactive, and it just made it accessible.
to millions of developers, designers, even hobbyists all around the world.
And, while a lot of modern tools and frameworks have come along and built on top of its ideas, the legacy of jQuery's magic wand, well, it continues to influence how we build and interact with the web even today. Which kind of leaves you wondering, what are the new spells that are just waiting to be written?